This is the story of Louis Vuitton, which will encourage you to have confidence in your abilities. How Louis Vuitton, who had little money to begin with, built a business into one that is today worth over $30 billion. The most valuable luxury brand in the world, Louis Vuitton, is worth about $30 billion. Its beginnings can be traced to a homeless boy who could only dream of prosperity in the 19th century. He performed odd jobs with craftsmen and artisans to survive, since he had neither money nor food. He barely made any money, but gained invaluable skills that helped him to invent modern luggage and build a billion-dollar enterprise. Louis Vuitton was born and raised in Angers, France in the 19th century. His parents were farmers and hat makers. France was still recuperating from the Napoleonic Wars at the time, and many farmers, including the Vuitton family, were in financial trouble. Louis was compelled to work on the family farm from a young age. He reared the animals, gathered firewood, and sowed and harvested crops from dusk until daylight. Louis's life got worse when he turned 10 years old. His father remarried shortly after his mother passed away. The evil stepmother of Louis was comparable to that of fairy tale villains. Louis Vuitton was miserable because of her, and eventually he had enough. When Louis reached the age of 13, he discreetly fled the farm and made his way to Paris without any food or money. Thankfully, Louis was able to secure odd jobs with artisans and craftspeople who showed him how to work with metal, stone, textiles, and wood. Even so, he ran out of money and had to live on the streets. He frequently dozed off in the woods with nothing but a cloak as insulation. The first train route to Paris had just begun service at the time. Access to travel increased, and the sector began to flourish. Because of this, artisans profited by creating unique boxes for nobility. They required crates that could fit and last lengthy journeys because they frequently traveled with paintings, musical instruments, and furniture. In order to prevent their possessions from shattering, they also needed assistance packing them in a specific manner. Louis decided to attempt to get a job in the trade because he had picked up some of the necessary abilities while traveling to Paris. Fortunately, Louis Vuitton was taken on as an apprentice by a craftsman named Monsieur Maréchal. Louis didn't make much money, but his willingness to study paid off in a variety of ways. As a result, Maréchal's patrons started to love him. Later, the Empress of France hired him to create boxes for her. Louis launched his first shop after working for the Empress for a year and became increasingly in demand. Louis developed new product concepts early on that altered the industry norm. Traditional boxes of the time were rectangular and made of leather. The dome-shaped lids prevented water from penetrating the leather by allowing it to run off the top. The boxes became difficult to stack and time-consuming to load as a result. Louis Vuitton experimented with various materials before settling on canvas to address these issues. Canvas was more water-resistant, sturdier, and lighter than leather. This made it possible for boxes to have straightforward, flat lids, which made them easy to stack and load. And because waterproofing substances changed the color to gray, it appeared cleaner and more contemporary. Louis made a slat trunk out of canvas cloth. His new item was the first piece of contemporary luggage. Customers were skeptical of its benefits at first, but it quickly took off and earned a reputation as a trendy, must-have accessory. Following that, Louis Vuitton set out to accomplish the same feat with a brand new creation: handbags. At the time, society did not accept purses. They were criticized for being unattractive, bulky, and likely to inflict injuries on women, according to several reports. Nevertheless, Louis began producing canvas handbags because he thought they had potential. They quickly became popular, creating a need for multiple styles so that ladies could match them with various outfits. At some point, Louis was unable to keep up and called on his son Georges for assistance. Like his father, Georges developed fresh concepts that altered the industrial norm. He invented a tumbler lock to deter theft and transform trunks into treasure chests. Before it, the majority of trunks featured simple-to-pick locks. The family's goods gained even more popularity. But soon after, the flow of work stopped. The company was devastated by a battle, which left Louis homeless once more. Louis's business was booming until the Franco-Prussian War broke out. In order to get to the city, Louis and his family were compelled to leave their honiers outside of Paris' house and workshop. They shared a small shelter with thousands of other refugees there. Food was so scarce that the Vuittons almost perished from starvation. Louis went back to his house after the war. His workshop had been damaged and his materials had been stolen. Louis didn't spend any time repairing his workshop, instead locating a new shop location using the remaining funds in his savings. Fortunately for him, the conflict caused a decline in real estate values. Louis seized the chance and bought a store in a high-end neighborhood. After reopening, the business quickly picked up again, and orders started to come in from all over the world. Louis was now compelled to try out fresh, audacious concepts. Technology at the time allowed for the printing of unique designs on fabric. Louis was able to make a range of trunks decorated in stripes since the canvas is a cloth. The new style gained popularity right away. It provided people with a means to stand out and exhibit their modernity. Additionally, it made it harder for imitators to replicate Louis' creations. After that, Louis received so many orders from around the world that he decided to create a store in London. His clientele diversified as a result of the expansion to include more adventurers and royals. Louis gained notoriety as the one designer whose goods could be found in both luxurious mansions and far-off rainforests from that point on. Louis eventually made the decision to publish his first catalog in order to facilitate ordering. It was a sensible decision that would undoubtedly help the company grow. However, during that same year, a shocking event crushed Louis' efforts. At the age of 72, Louis passed away unexpectedly in his home. His cause of death is still a mystery. Georges was now responsible for carrying out his father's unfinished ambitions. Georges made haste to expand the company and went to the World Fair in the US. He realized after the encounter that he required a global sales network. He was fortunate to meet John Wanamaker at the fair, which would be of assistance. John invented the department store and the homeless youngster who created Louis Vuitton, among other things. He began promoting LV at his New York department store after meeting Georges. Georges then designed a monogram in honor of his father that features an interlocking L and V and a floral motif. When customers noticed the monogram on the merchandise, they were astonished. They were accustomed to solely personalizing their bags with their own names or initials. However, as time went on, the new style became popular. After that, Georges and his son Gaston carried on Louis' legacy by developing new designs. The Keepall, the No, the Alma, which was a remake of a Coco Chanel order, are all notable designs. The Keepall is a bag for everyday use. By that time, Georges had completed a nationwide tour and established a network of distributors. He was destined to expand the company to new heights, just like his father. But regrettably, history kept repeating itself. Gaston was left to carry out Louis' unfinished business by himself when he passed away. It was not a good start for Gaston. Contracts were terminated as a result of the outbreak of World War II. The plant and stores of LV had to be shut down by Gaston. According to the author of Louis Vuitton, a French saga, Gaston grew so anxious to survive that he worked with the ruling party in Germany. It's said that Gaston authorized the creation of memorial busts and opened a store in Vichy. After over $1 billion in sales, LV joined with champagne and cognac maker Moët Hennessy to create the luxury products giant LVMH. Both businesses wanted to avoid the possibility of an outside acquisition. While the acquisition allowed LV to increase its investment portfolio, Henry soon found himself in conflict with Moët president Hennessy's Alain Chevalier over management decisions. Henry invited Bernard Arnault, a real estate developer, to be his ally in an effort to take control. Bernard consented, but Henry quickly discovered that Bernard had other goals. Bernard obtained backing from the Moët and Hennessy families to covertly acquire a controlling stake in LVMH for himself. After that, Henry and Bernard got into a court dispute. The judges sided with Bernard and made Henry resign as a result. From that point on, LV lagged behind other luxury brands. Sales fell dramatically because it was a smaller company. No journalist dared to praise the company in any way. Things didn't start to change until LV, under the direction of Yves Carcel, followed Louis' lead and came up with a fresh, audacious notion. For its 100th anniversary, the business asked designers, including Vivienne Westwood, Isaac Mizrahi, and Manolo Blahnik, to produce handbags with its emblem. Such partnerships were virtually unheard of at the time, and luxury purses were non-existent. However, the partnership was enthusiastically received and brought LV and handbags back into the spotlight. LV is currently the most valuable luxury brand in the world, valued at over $30 billion. This is the tale of how a young man who was homeless invented modern luggage and built a multi-billion-dollar business. With that, we come to an end. See you at the next one.